It's Sunday school, everyone. Welcome to yet again another Sunday school. I've got two things I want to talk about today while I'm not sure the video is starting. Okay, two things I want to talk about today. Very short because I know we want to get on with our day and our week, but it is Sunday school and let's take our seats and quiet down. Two things I want to talk about. First of all, the people are always asking me because I've been in the OTO since 1975, and I I love the OTO, and I love the initiatory experience of the OTO. I love my OTO brothers and sisters, but I'm also a Mason. Okay, I'm a Freemason, and I love my Masonic brothers, and I love the Masonic initiatory experience and everything else. Both Masonry and the OTO have provided me unbelievable initiatory experiences, but I have used those experiences to become just what I am. Okay. Now there's people that could have those same experiences, take those same degree initiations, and they become somebody else. Okay. And organizations, in a sense, can't be the, you can't project upon an organization what it is supposed to do, what it does do, what it could have done for you. You handle that experience the way you handle it. And when you've got any kind of an organization, even when there's two people in an organization, one of them eventually is going to think the other one is an asshole. Yes, there are assholes in every organization. And sometimes the behavior of the individual members or the individual officers or the even the behavior of administrative groups or the administration does not always live up to your expectations. Okay. And so you project, well, for people say things like, well, masonry for years was segregated. Okay. And it was a lot of the Confederate members were Masons, and how can you be a Mason because Masons won't let women in, or they didn't for so many years. And you completely ignore the fact that no, you took the degree initiations. Now you're a Mason. Now, if you don't like that part of the group, set to work with your Masonic credentials to change it. Don't be so fast to throw in the towel, okay? But that's just my little rant about that. Yes, uh, I am, in my point of view, I am enriched. I am mutated by my experiences in both the OTO and the Masons, and I do what I can for both organizations to, uh, at least by my own example, if nothing else, to show how enriching that experience could be. So somebody wrote, and again, this is from Ask Babylon, somebody wrote, oh, what did I do with it? Thank you for allowing me to pester you with my questions and observations. You're a gentleman and a scholar and a brother Mason. I'm still trying to figure out what the OTO is all about. Well, I think I'm starting to understand that Thelema is actually a religion, correct? The Book of the Law is the Thelemic Bible, in a sense. Thelema is believing that God dwells in man. So that would make man God, and rather an answering to a higher power. You can be your own God by following your will. This would be the absence of a supreme being unless you consider yourself a God. I, on the other hand, think that man is, in a nutshell, a dumb animal and cannot perceive the overall picture that is God. A dog can't drive a car, and a man cannot see his place in the universe. That's a good line. I'm not so sure about Jesus, but he was a great teacher, to say the least. I always thought dying on a cross was a small price to pay when you think about the 19-year-old kids that died in Vietnam for nothing at all. I would die on a cross to save every soul on the planet, wouldn't you? People have sacrificed themselves for far less a cause. I still understand that without some form of organized religion, the world would be a bit chaotic if some people followed their will. I would have been shot to death by now. I wonder if ignorance is a good excuse for me to get into heaven, if there is one, name withheld. Dear brother, name withheld, you're welcome. Not that I want to sell books. Well, I do. But I write them to explain things to myself, and in doing so, perhaps explain things to others as well. I tried to specifically answer the question you asked below in The Magic of Aleister Crowley. But just off the top of my head, the first thing in the morning, I would put it like this. God is supreme consciousness, the highest power. Okay, the highest power, within which all of creation, including you and I, reside. Everything is an aspect and expression of the supreme consciousness. However, just because the subatomic particle and the ant and the tree and you and me are 100% God stuff, it doesn't mean that we have yet raised or realized our consciousness to the same level as that of the supreme consciousness. Until we've reached that level of self-awareness, we are most certainly answerable to a higher power of the supreme being and its laws, the mechanics of the universe. As an example, you'll be answerable to the mechanics of the universe if you punch me in the nose and steal my lunch. The higher power is likely to reveal itself to you by allowing me to beat the crap out of you. I believe you might be missing the point entirely about what will is. Do what thou wilt does not mean do whatever you like because you're God. It means you've got a specific job to do as a component in the mind of God. You've manifested in this universe because this job needs, for some reason, God knows what, this job needs to be done on this plane. And it can be done by nobody else but you. Finding out that job, finding out what that job is and doing what it is our personal great work. By doing your great will, you're fulfilling the reason for your existence and bringing yourself into harmony and sync with the supreme consciousness, God's will. Your comment on organized religion is well taken. Many people, perhaps Many people, perhaps most, unanchored by the quest to find their place in the universe, need to be rendered harmless to others, or at least others of their own class and heritage. Organized religions with their laws and authorities serve to frighten and intimidate them into docility. This is most easily done by making people believe that they are inherently evil and need fixing, something that can only be done by one particular religion. Masonry, on the other hand, tells us that, quote, a fund of science and industry is implanted in man for the best, most salutary, and most beneficent purposes. We're not evil inside, we just need our rough edges chipped away, our consciousness raised step by step, degree by degree. Many religions create people who are unchaotic by putting their minds in a prison. Masonry is designed to produce individuals who are free, balanced, productive, creative, loving, and spiritual because their minds have become liberated. I hope this has been helpful. Okay. Now, yesterday I showed you this flawless, stunningly artistic self-portrait. And it comes from this chapter here. And that's why I put the word Felix up on my page this morning. Real life. Balancing family life and magic is the heading here. Good evening, Babylon. I'm hoping for some guidance. Okay. How did you balance magical study and raising a family? From everything I've seen, you seem to have the whole darn thing figured out. I do not even have a family yet. I struggle with maintaining balance between my esoteric studies, my work, and regular living. I can't imagine adding in parent-teacher meetings, soccer, let alone introducing the idea of thelema to children while surrounded by conservatives. I'd love to know what your secret is here. I love my esoteric work and I love my job. I don't mind being alone to work, but it must be unhealthy to a degree I found myself in. I'm sure I'm not the only one looking to find out how to balance this, and you seem to have done it masterfully as anything else. Any advice would be sincerely appreciated. Name withheld. Dear name withheld. You ask an excellent question, but I'm afraid you've begun with a defective observation. I don't have the whole thing figured out. I did not have it figured out in my youth. I do not presently have the whole thing figured out, nor is it likely I will ever have the whole thing figured out. As a matter of fact, the older I get, the less about life I seem to understand, and the less important understanding it all seems to be. I must also add that the older I get, the more I simply appreciate the entire experience for whatever it is. My attitude might be the result of creeping senility, or it might be the onset of that degree of illumination I once upon a time convinced myself was the only goal in life worth striving for. Perhaps senility and illumination are one and the same thing. Please forgive me, but to address your question, I'm going to cut and paste a little clip from something I wrote in the opening of one of my books and for a little speech I delivered to the OTO National Conference. I hope it'll be helpful. I'm not a wise man. I'm a lucky man. To my tree of life should be added a fourth pillar, the pillar of luck. to the mystic formulas of INRI and LVX and NOx, I must add FELIX, the Latin word meaning lucky. Because even though my life might appear to be characterized by a series of wise actions and decisions, it is in reality merely peppered by freakish moments of unbelievable good luck. In the East, they would call my lifestyle that of a householder. I'm married and have for my entire adult life endeavored with varying degrees of success to provide a loving and stable environment for my family. Things have worked out pretty well, but not because I'm wise. In truth, throughout the years, I've been lucky to have a sainted wife and a beloved son who have provided me with a loving and stable environment. I wasn't acting wisely 42 years ago, well, I'll say in 1966. I wasn't acting wisely in 1966 when I took far too much LSD out in Joshua Tree National Monument and vowed to the multiple rising suns that I would not return from the desert until I was a holy man. Actually, now that I think of it, it was February of 1967. Later that same day, it wasn't wisdom that oozed like melting psychedelic wax down the wallpaper of that little beer bar in Costa Mesa as I pondered the nature of space-time and suddenly realized the inescapable rightness of spending the rest of my life with Constance Olson, my high school sweetheart. And it wasn't wisdom that sent me careening past the pool table to the payphone by the pinball machine and call her in Nebraska to ask her to marry me. I think, however, it was wise that I waited till our 20th anniversary to confess I proposed to her while frying my brains out on acid. Fate, coupled with a conspicuous lack of ambition, has conspired to make our lifestyle one of genteel poverty. Well, not so, always so genteel. I think I read this the other day. We've never owned a house, a new car, or a credit card. On the other hand, we've always lived in moderately affluent communities and safe neighborhoods. We've always owned old cars, and usually get us around where we're going. Our bills consist exclusively of rent, the utilities, and health insurance. Our only expenses are groceries and gasoline. Our only debts are those we can never repay. Debts to dear friends and brethren for treasures of love and support. Such kindness has allowed us to travel the world and do many things we could not otherwise afford. Some people say that's a miracle, and I agree. Miracles are part of my job. I'm a magician. And I'm lucky. So there it is. I know it's probably not the kind of response you want to hear, but it's the overriding answer to your question. I'm the laziest man in the world. I'm so lazy I cannot abide expending 1 ounce of energy or performing 1 iota of labor that is not in some way an expression of my passion for enlightened happiness. Perhaps looking at it from the outside, it might appear like a tour de force that masterfully, a tour de force that balances family and esoteric study, career and magical practice. But what's really going on is that I'm being almost pathologically selfish and lazy. In fact, until you brought it up, it never occurred to me there was any balancing act going on at all. The school plays, the PTA meetings, the lousy jobs, the bills, the illnesses, the landlords were every bit as much a part of my magical life as the evocations, invocations, initiations. In fact, they were initiations. Joseph Campbell said it all when he said, follow your bliss. Follow your bliss, and the balancing act will take care of itself. That's about as wise as I can wax 10 minutes before going to bed. If this hasn't been helpful, I hope at least it has made you smile. And with those little tidbits, I'm going to leave you until tomorrow. Sunday school is dismissed. Continue to be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.